Let your body tell you what to do. Don't be dictated by anyone else's ideas. Feel the beauty and express it in any way that you can. I've never felt the need to conform to anyone's ideas. No one tells me how to move or what my body should feel or do. If you have conformed to the ideas of normality, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've ever lived your life in such a sad way. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Okay, so first off, big love, big debate, big response to the last episode, the Westboro Baptist Church episode. Thanks everyone who got in touch. Many of you did. And yeah, you had really strong, diverse opinions, and I welcomed every one of them. I loved reading every response to that episode. I think there was a lot of people giving very honest, very heartfelt, very truthful responses to the stuff that I talked about in that episode. And you know, I like to find light and shade in things. You know that. I like to laugh. And I think one of the comments that made me laugh the most was from Rebecca Kiernan, who commented and said, "Shirley pissed off the gays so much that no one would do her hair." I mean, not stereotyping gay men, but still funny. Also, I mean, I love a sassy response. It just really makes me laugh. Bella Kennedy got in touch, not in response to that episode, but in response to the last short stories one, the Amy story. And she started her message with the words, "Baz, you fucker, you made me cry." And I like that straight away, Bella. Okay, shout out time. Shout out to Sarah Cushion. Thanks for the gentle reminder about your shout out, Sarah. Oh no, hang on a minute. It wasn't gentle. You messaged me with a message that said, "Oi, poo head, where's my shout out?" And a million emojis. And that really made me laugh. Travis Morrison. Ask and ye shall receive. Travis is in Tennessee. Glad that the podcast is helping you get through your days at work. Hey Travis. Artie Stevenson. What a name. Artie. I love a bit of that. Hello. How are you? Thanks for listening. Natalie Manny. Thanks for listening. I hope I've said that correctly. Natalie Manny. Yeah, I think that's right. Thanks to Stephen, your husband, who described you as his gorgeous wife, for asking for a shout out. Alice Knight. Hey Alice, thank you for listening. Your mum, Debbie Walton, she tells me that you got her into podcasts well done. Well done, anyone that can get anyone into podcasts, because I think once you've introduced people to it, they begin to understand it, they begin to love it. So well done, Alice, for doing that, and well done, Debbie, for telling Alice about Extraordinary Stories podcast. I love it when people share the podcast. It's great. Okay, just to end the shout outs, if you've asked me for a shout out and I haven't done it, please feel free to remind me. I won't be offended. Come back to me and just say, Barry, I actually asked you 2 weeks ago for a shout out and you still haven't done it. That's fine. Okay? I will give a shout out to you if you want it. Alright. This week's short stories episode. You know I love a gear change in the stories. I don't like to stay static, and I don't really like to stick with a theme. So I'm going a wee bit left of centre with this one. I like to kind of mix it up. And we're going into the world of someone whose life was not only extraordinary, but also just completely unique. There are very, very few people in the world who you can say they were unique in their existence and what they gave to the world. Their legacy was unique. But this woman is absolutely an inspiring figure. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Okay, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about Isadora Duncan. And she's also known as the mother of dance. Now, if you're immediately doing an eye roll and thinking, I don't give a fuck about dance, fear not. The episode is not about dance. It's about her life. And it's a life, I guarantee, no one else ever led. Where do we start? Well, in 1877, a baby was born and was given the name Isadora Duncan. And this name would go down in history forever. So she was born in California to some parents who were pretty poor. So her dad, Joseph, and her mum, Mary, didn't have a great deal of money. And I'm not even kidding when I say that her mum and dad were called Joseph and Mary. I mean, all I could hear in my head was, you know, remember that song, little donkey, carry Mary, something Joseph. That song, that was all I could hear. I don't know why I'm insisting on singing hymns in every episode. That's not going to become a regular feature. Although, I have to say, my singing in the last episode, it was clear that it was pretty well received, and that my voice is recognised, and pretty soon I think a recording contract might be on its way to me. Pretty soon I'm going to be the Scottish Adele. So David Thompson, you called me tuneless on Facebook. Oh, David, you'll be sorry when I'm duetting with big Beyonce. David, I'm kidding. Okay, why was the family poor? Well, Joseph, Isadora's dad, he had a good job in a bank, but he lost that job and it threw the family into, well, just real financial turmoil. Isadora, at a young age, from a very young age actually, from about 3 years old, she loved to dance. She just loved to throw her body around. She was a really physical child. She and her sister, they would make up dance routines for hours and perform them for the family. Now, the very first tragedy is going to hit Isadora at a very young age. Her parents, Joseph and Mary, they separate when she is really young, and it devastates Isadora. She adores both her parents, and she hates the idea that they're no longer going to be a family. So her dad moves out, and the children stay with their mother. So her dad, he was a good father, but he was struggling somewhat with depression. He was struggling with possible alcohol issues were reported at the time. I sort of stopped here and thought, it's weird to think how, in that time, that would have been handled. How would someone have handled a man who had issues of depression or issues with alcohol? I suppose nowadays we would be so much more equipped to deal with that. I just wonder back then. So he'd lost his job, he'd fallen into depression, started drinking. It's a story you hear all the time, but, if it's happening that long ago, I just wonder what support there was for him. Maybe none. So the family are left pretty poor. Isadora's mother, she did the best that she could to keep up with making money in order to feed her children and keep a house going, but she needed help. Now, the kids were at school, but at age 10, Isadora dropped out of school. A fairly radical move at 10 years old to drop out of school. She dropped out because she found school way too restrictive for her. Teachers were finding her hard because she just wouldn't conform with any of the ideas and the rules within school. And this becomes really important in her story. Isadora did not like rules. She did not like being constrained by anyone else's ideas. It's the kind of person I love. Be your own person. Do your own thing. I'm not saying drop out of school at 10 years old. That's ridiculous. But I'm just saying, I think it's good if you can go, no, I don't want to be someone who just follows a system and follows the rules. So she was very much making her own path in the world. So to help her mother financially, Isadora at a young age takes up teaching dance to younger kids. Now she herself, she's only like 10, 11 years old. But my God, she is fucking good at dance. She is so skilled. With no training, she's just so skilled. And she passes that skill on to younger kids. And it brings in a little amount of money to the family. It's enough to kind of help with clothes and food. So she's really enjoying her time teaching. And she has plenty of students who wanted to be taught. And why? Because Isadora, as I said, did not follow the rules. She improvised her way through her dance training. She was a free spirit. People described her as acting on every whim and teaching whatever happened to pop into her brain at that moment. I know the feeling. I think I'm one of those in life. I think I let impulse lead me. I think I let impulse lead my life. If something takes my fancy and I want to know more, I'm a bit like a dog with a bone. All kind of logic disappears out of my brain and I just kind of follow my instincts. So I can kind of get where Isadora is coming from. But that's very much how she operated her life and her dance teaching. Now, as she gets a little bit older into her sort of teenage years, she has a burning desire to travel. And this business of teaching, it's given her enough of an income that it was possible for her to start to do some travelling. So she went from California to Chicago, and she started to audition for lots of different dance companies. I mean, again, just to remind you, Isadora had no real formal training. She was literally the living example of making it up as you go along. She was blagging it, but she was skilled. Just sheer ability, just sheer will. So she gets accepted into a Chicago-based dance company. They're based in Chicago, but they tour America. And as part of the tour, she ends up in New York, the Big Apple. Now, the company that she's in, they do a lot of classical ballet. Do you think Isadora enjoyed this? Did she fuck? She was so bored of the rigid nature of ballet. It just felt so conventional. It was too regimented, and although she was skilled, she just wanted more. She saw, at a very young age, she saw a future for dance and for herself that didn't include being a sheep, being just another ballet dancer in the ballet world who had, the right technique, the correct posture, the right look, and so on, blah, blah, blah. All those things. She just did not want to be that. So, although she was great, she felt really underappreciated. And in 1989, she left that company and she moved to London. She just felt like, I'm never going to make anything of myself in this company in America. I'm going to go to London. She's like, screw you, world. This is my journey. I'm out of here. So when she gets there, she doesn't immediately find her way into a company. So what does she do for money? Well, and I love this, she starts performing for the wealthy London socialites in their living rooms and in their drawing rooms when they had big parties. I think I would bloody love an Isadora dancing at a party of mine. Imagine. I think that would be fantastic. I'm throwing one of my parties. Everyone's had a few drinks. Music's blaring. Here comes Isadora to dance in the middle of the living room. I mean, yes to that. The dances that she was doing for the wealthy, well, they weren't your typical styles of dance. She was taking inspiration from all manner of things. I mean, like, she was looking sometimes at like a Greek vase and going, I'm going to use that as my inspiration to dance. And so off she went. So there's a great story where she arrives at a party to dance, and the host takes her in to the floor space in the living room and says, this is where you're going to dance. And she says, no. I want to dance on the tables. So once they'd finished their dinner and they all sat with a drink in their hand, she danced along the tables, and it's covered in bottles of champagne, and she would like pick up a bottle of champagne here and there, and she would like dance with them. She really just was something else. She always danced barefoot, and she'd wear all these like really long flowing gowns, because the look at the time was that very sort of ballerina, everything's very tight. It's the tights, it's the leotard, it's the everything that's very tight. And here's Isadora, and she's like, no thank you, I'm going to be wearing a large schmuck. I'm wearing the largest thing I can find, and I've got no shoes on. Do you know what's interesting? Do you know what kind of popped into my head here? I don't know if you've ever seen, and if you haven't, I would really recommend it. There's a documentary, it's on Netflix, and it's about Nina Simone. And it's called What Happened Miss Simone. It is incredible. It is so good. It takes you through the entire life, start to finish, of Nina Simone, and you see the playing out of her mental health problems. But there's a really interesting part of the documentary where they focus on the fact that when she was just starting out, just before she'd done things like Feeling Good and all of those big hits, she would be invited into the homes of the wealthy to play piano while they had a party. And there's something in her that just looks sad about it. She just looks a bit tragic about the fact that this is what she's doing, because she knows that she's actually a proper musician and wants to be out there giving her music to the world. I don't know if Isadora Duncan felt the same when she was dancing in these living rooms. I kind of get the impression with Isadora that she was just happy to be dancing. I think if you'd said to her, do you want to just dance for us in the street, she would have done it. I mean, she knew her worth. She knew how good she was. But I also think she just was so in love with dancing that she just, went for it wherever she could. So she's saving up the money that she's making from this, and she opens up her own dance studio. She wants to now teach her very own particular brand of dance. She's got two main drives in life, Isadora, and they are the creation of beauty and the education of the young. She hated young people being taught rigid styles of dance, so she wanted to free them up and give them a chance to express themselves. So now this is sounding right, like everything's really positive, it's going well for her. But what's going on underneath the life that we are seeing at the time? Isadora was having a hard time in her personal life because she wasn't living a conventional lifestyle. She was bisexual. She had many lovers in her early years. Some men, some women, and she just really enjoyed sex. And in lots of ways, actually what it did was it gave her more notoriety, I think. I think it just added to the scandalous behaviour of the dancing because, she just wasn't living a conventional life. One minute she had a girlfriend, the next minute a boyfriend, sometimes both at the same time. She was just doing what she wanted. Now I'm going to pause at this point and question something that if you're listening and if you know a word that could sum this up, please tell me what this word could be, because I can't find the word. I know what I'm talking about, I just don't know what the word is. And it's not specifically to do with Isadora, it's specifically to do with, parts of her story, but also something that really interests me in the world. As the story is going to unfold with Isadora, she's about to meet with some really tragic events and some really strange coincidences. And sometimes when I'm looking at someone's life story, and not just, a specific incident they might have been through or an event, you get these weird moments where things in a person's life, there's a strange irony in the fact that things are scarily similar. I've not described that in the best way that I could, but as we go on, what I've just said will make sense, I think. I think it will make sense to you. Now, Isadora's father, she had all of her life felt a really strong love for her father, and he felt that back. They'd always kept in touch, even though she'd grown up not living with him. He went off and he tried to get, the best help that he could for depression. Isadora's dad was out on a boat one day when she was in her early 20s. The boat ran into issues and he died as a result of drowning. She was devastated. It was the first family member she'd lost, and losing her beloved dad was horrific for her. But she pulled herself together, and through the grief, she continued to dance. Now, her own dance studios, they're doing quite well. By now, she's in a position where, like, she can leave them. She can go off to other countries, she can set up another studio. She goes to Paris, she goes to London, she's in America. She can leave people to run the schools that she has set up. Major, huge dance figures in the world are asking Isadora to come on tour and perform with them because her style is so unique. And it really is actually, I know it sounds crazy, it's really reaching a worldwide audience. She is a big name in the world of dance. People are coming out in their thousands just to have the opportunity to watch Isadora Duncan dance live. Critics get a bit snobby about it, of course they fucking do. Critics get a bit, it's not traditional, it's not classic, it's not whatever. Fuck that, man. She's just doing her own thing. Do you know what I mean? You can say, yes, it's not classical ballet. Yes, it's not particularly this, it's not particularly that. But if it's good, it's good. And that really is the bottom line with anything art-based. That is something I have learned and I've worked hard to learn in my life. The bottom line is, if it's good, it's good. Don't be a critical fucking bastard. Don't sit there and try and pull something apart just for the sake of intellect. Because if you try to over-intellectualize art too much, you're killing it. You're just killing it in that moment. If it's good, it's good. Okay, by 1911, sorry about that small rant there. I don't know where that came from. I just sort of went off in a wee went off in a wee moment. Okay, 1911, she is on the top of her game. But she has something else to occupy her time. Isadora by 1911 has 2 young children. She'd always wanted children. And she is delighted to have a young son, Patrick, and a daughter, Deirdre. So they were both born to different fathers. They were both born out of wedlock. Again, very controversial for the time. I mean, people now wouldn't bat an eyelid. If your 2 kids came from different fathers and, you know, like, who cares? Do you know what I mean? That's fine. A family is no longer the family unit that we think it should be. And also, life and life choices just get in the way. Things happen. This is what it is. But in 1911, it was pretty controversial that not married, she had 2 kids by 2 different fathers. So, okay. But did Isadora give a flying fuck? Nah. She was like, okay, say what you want. I'm not bothered. There's just some really beautiful pictures of her holding her kids. She just absolutely adores them. One day she goes to the studio to work on a new dance piece, and she leaves her nanny with the 2 children. And on that day, as she leaves her 2 young children aged 3 and 5, Isadora has no idea it's the last time she will ever see them alive. The nanny takes the children out for a drive, and the car that they're driving in begins to have trouble. The brakes stop working. They're near a river, and the car plunges into the river where the 2 young children and the nanny drown. Isadora is devastated. Her children were her world, and now they're gone. Pause here, and I'll just go back to what I was trying to explain earlier on. That's now her father drowned, and now her children are drowned. Both accidents. But this is what I'm saying about weird coincidences in someone's life. I know you could look for those things. I know you could look and try to find them. But the people that she's been closest to in her life, all three of them have died in the same way. Completely devastated. Isadora takes her time to grieve and she throws herself into work. She meets a man along the way called Romano Romanelli, who sounds like a pasta dish. Excuse me, waiter, I'll have a Romano Romanelli and a garlic bread, please. Thanks very much. Now she begs Romano to sleep with her because she wants to fall pregnant. She is desperate for another baby after the loss of her 2 young children. So this happens. They have sex. She falls pregnant. And, oh my God, days after Isadora has given birth to a baby boy, he dies of cot death. She's now got 3 dead children. It's just unbearable. Oh, it's just absolutely unbearable. Through all of this, she doesn't stop dancing. She keeps going. She continues to dance. Her dance style and her performances, they're still making headlines. And she's still continuing to work all the way through her grief. She's making shows. She's dancing throughout Europe, the world. She does a dance in the USA and it becomes one of the most famous dances that she does. She gets her boobs out during one dance and She, I think she's wearing a top to start with. She takes the top off so that her boobs are out and she puts a red scarf around her neck and she starts dancing with this red scarf and she shouts, "This is red, so am I." So she's there with her red scarf and it becomes a really kind of famous image of Isadora Duncan at that time. She never went on to have any more children, but she does continue to have a string of sexual encounters with men, women, and they can be from anywhere. Some were painters, actors, singers, you name it. She had become, by this point, right? So let's say she's like in her 40s. She had become known as the mother of modern dance. I mean, that's not a throwaway title. That's big stuff. And see, when you now see people dancing in all kinds of crazy styles and they're mixing up their styles, really, that all exists because of Isadora Duncan. Because she just saw something in the future of dance. She was one of the first people, I'm not saying she was the first, but she was one of the first people in the world to go, no, dance does not need to be either ballet or tap dancing or hip hop or whatever. She was the person who went, I'm going to create the fusion, I'm going to bring it all together and I'm just going to create a whole new style. And actually see that new style is now what we call contemporary dance. And contemporary dance is about the biggest dance movement in the world right now. Contemporary dance is everywhere. So, actually, Isadora Duncan was the face of that. She was the very forefront of that. Now, round about her sort of later 40s, she began to drink alcohol more and more and more. She'd always liked to drink, Isadora. She'd always liked a party. She'd always liked socialising. And she was known at parties for her drunken antics. My God, tell me about it. If there was a book published called The Drunken Antics of Baz, I think I'd need to go into hiding. Seriously, I think I would. Isadora, she had kind of become like that drunken, ridiculous person at every social situation. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I'm looking in a mirror when I'm saying that. Now, for the final time, I'm going to bring this up. Right, this is the final time I'm going to say it. About this weird connection of things. And I'm just going to tell you the final tragic bit of this story. In 1927, at age 49, Isadora, she's in Nice in France. And she is off out for the evening with her lover. And as she leaves, she decides that she's going to wear a long, red, hand-painted scarf that she had received as a gift. Now she gets into the passenger seat of the car. This car. Think, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Think old cars of the 1920s. The wheels have big open spikes. They look like a bike. You know the kind of car that I'm describing. And as Isadora and her lover are driving through the French streets, this long scarf that she is wearing, it gets caught in the wind. It finds its way into one of the spokes of the wheel. The wheel turns, and Isadora Duncan's neck is snapped by the force of the scarf being pulled. She dies instantly in the car. Isadora's funeral was held in Paris, and she was buried next to her 3 children. An absolutely tragic death. And a life that was marred by sadness, but also triumph. And if you're going to be someone who doesn't follow the rules, then be like her. And so ends the story of Isadora Duncan. Okay, what a crazy life. Crazy. Inspiring. Do you see what I mean about the 2 drownings in her life, and that 2 of the biggest moments in her life were to do with scarves? These things are weird to me. I don't quite know the point I'm making, but I'm hoping that you can make the same connections that I'm making. It's very, very weird. Anyway, as always, if you want to get in touch, you can. I'm on Facebook. Join the Facebook group. It's very happening right now. Very happening. Oh my God, what decade am I from? It's very happening. Fuck off. Can't believe we heard that even come out of my own mouth. Yeah, just join the Facebook group. I'm not even going to try and describe it because I might say the word happening again. Oh my God. It's like when people say, oh no, I don't want to offend anyone, but it's like when people say, oh, it's really groovy. What? Is this the 70s? Do you want to chill out? Yeah, okay, you can get me on Twitter, you can get me on Instagram. I'm no hard to find. I'm not hiding anywhere in any of these wee pockets of the world. If you want to email me, you can. It's extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. Get in touch. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay? Goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.